right, congratulations everybody. We're here. We made it to the C1X table. Today we get to talk to the Prez, Andrew Presnell, and our good homie iRobot, Isaac Heinen. How are you guys?
What's going on?
I'm good. That's the first time I've heard that nickname.
Yeah. There's a few, but that's
that was
Peter
right,
Buren,
right?
That's a Peter Buren special.
Yes.
I like that
Yeah.
Yes. Is there any other ones that we don't know of? iRobot's the only one I've heard of.
iRobot's the main disc golf one that sometimes comes up.
Yeah.
So
That's the only one I've heard, but
yeah.
maybe the other ones we shouldn't talk about.
No, there's I'm trying to think. You'll get an Ike occasionally, or Ice,
Right.
like Iceman, something like that. But
That makes sense too.
iRobot's the most popular.
Is Prez kind of newish? Has that been around for a long time? You've had the stamp for a long time.
Yeah, I've been called Prez, I think, since high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think now the only people that'll call me Andrew are my parents and occasionally my fiance. So
She calls you Prez otherwise?
no, she'll call me Andrew.
Yeah.
Occasionally, but then it's, the normal fiance names. babe,
Yes.
whatnot.
Yes.
But I don't hear Andrew too often, and Prez, that's been my name for a long time.
It's a
It
good
took
one.
me way longer than it probably should have to know if your name is spelled with a Z or an S. It was just kind of, because you always just saw Prez and it's with a Z. So it was kind of wait.
I do confuse a lot of people because it's technically it's an S, but I think on Facebook I spell it with a Z, and if you just call me Prez, it's with a Z, so it's confusing.
I know there's a nickname that was floating around, the Pretzel, for a while. Did that finally die?
Hopefully.
Yes.
Well, not anymore.
Thanks to Coling.
Yeah. It was the way that Coling threw it out made it seem like it was totally normal.
He was doing pretzel puns in the Champions Cup coverage last year, so I wouldn't say it's totally dead yet, but he's the only one really keeping it alive.
Okay. Prez is way better.
Yeah.
Let's just end Pretzel right here, right now.
Yeah.
Well, dude, so I reached out to you just to be any chance you could reach out to Prez? Is obviously I don't have your number or anything like that. And you hooked us up immediately. You immediately said yes. So I just wanted to first say thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying yes. Mm-hmm. But how did you guys meet? When did you guys meet?
I want to hear your thoughts. I actually did a little research on this, so I can see when
I am not
you could place
prepared
your
with
first
my
memory.
research.
You don't remember when you...
I honestly don't know. I can't remember.
So my first memory of you is actually accurate from the first MPO tournament we played together. So whether or not that was actually the first time I met you, it was Chill at the Hill,
All right.
which was my first B-tier win.
Okay.
So that was the first time I remember, have a physical memory of
Is
Andrew
this
playing.
2015?
2015.
Yeah,
Yep.
sounds right.
And so at that point, we would have been working our way through MA1, MPO. Like I said, I don't know MA1 if there is some encounters overlap. I kind of went pro 2014, 2015. I think you were similar time frame. But yeah, I kind of looked and it was funny because I think I was 970 rated. You were 945, 950 rated. And then... yeah, obviously, pretty quickly, 2016, it's 980s, 990s. And, kind of moved on. But that was my first memory, and sure enough, that was actually the first MPO tournament we played together.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay. Do you remember that?
I vaguely remember the tournament, but
You play a lot of
It's
tournaments.
probably more special to me because it was my first win.
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
so, I think there's probably a few memories from that tournament that still linger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're always in Kansas City, I feel like, playing these little tournaments. Coming up this weekend, you're playing the Frostbreaker and Rosedale Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I try to make the Kansas City trips whenever they fit into the Pro Tour schedule. Because the drive's not too far. It's 3 hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
As a pro, I think you get a lot of... You're well known as, the weekend warrior still.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about maybe your location and the tournaments that you wind up playing with Disc Golf Monkey, the Kansas City stuff, and I guess kind of what keeps you coming back to those tournaments. A lot of the tour guys, you'll see them kind of just focus on the tour, and that's still your primary focus, but there's still something that's kind of driving you to these. And I was just wondering if you wanted to...
Yeah, I live basically smack dab in the center of the country, and so it's not too difficult for me to come home after a Pro Tour event and spend 10 days at home. And I live in an area that offers a lot of B tiers, whether it's in Springfield, Missouri through Disc Golf Monkey or St. Louis or Kansas City. There's normally a tournament going on that off weekend, and I can just make a day trip. If I win, I make $500 and a little bit of dishcraft bonus too. So it's not a bad way to spend a Saturday when I normally would probably just be home doing nothing. So I just enjoy playing and staying in in competition shape.
Mm-hmm. I remember it was probably, when was this? I don't know, 2017 or something in that line, or probably 2019. I don't know, somewhere in that frame. But I went to USDGC and I got to fly home with Clemens. And we actually had, like, our seats were next to each other, which was kind of crazy. And, like, Eagle was on the plane as well. But it was kind of a funny little thing. But I was asking him, like, okay, when you get back, what are you going to do? Like, and he mentioned playing local tournaments. And he goes, got to make that money, man. Like, kind of seemed like, just gonna dip into these little B tiers, make some money on the side kind of a thing. Is that sort of a motivator, or is it just more like...
I like making money.
Yeah. You also don't seem like one that just wants to sit around either. Like, waiting for 3 weeks for the next tournament just probably is a killer for you.
Yeah, the off season just ended, and this off season I didn't do as much as I normally do, and it was a lot of more sitting around than usual. I got very bored, and so I got to get out on the weekends and play when I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
What year was that USDGC? Do you know?
I don't know. Maybe 2018, somewhere in there.
So the reason I was kind of asking, that's about the time that you jumped on the road, wasn't it? And wasn't USDGC in kind of an East Coast swing where some of that started?
Yeah. Trying to think when. I think 2018 might have been my first USDGC. I started touring in 2017, like mid 2017. So I don't know if I would have made USDGC then, but I believe I made it in 2018, and played, I think, most of the Pro Tour swing that year.
Which was that? Was that? Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to say, so, we kind of see a little bit of progression. We just kind of talked about our intro. We see 2015. You and I are kind of mid-level regional pros. Mm-hmm. And within kind of a few years, you wind up on tour. What was kind of the point in there that you realized that was going to be a possibility? And then what did that decision look like? Hey, like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to give this a go.
I think what I did that a lot of people don't. I played a lot before I ever tried a tournament. I think I played for 2 years before I was interested in a tournament, and I was already pretty decent before I started tournaments, and so I won an intermediate my first tournament. So I immediately went to advanced. I think it took me 2 or 3 advanced tournaments before I started winning them. So then I jumped up to open pretty quickly. I think in the same year I started playing, I was playing open by the end of the year. And then, I think when I lived in Warrensburg, which is near Kansas City, I got to play a lot of the Kansas City competition, which is a lot deeper than down where I'm from, Springfield. And so I was doing pretty well with the KC guys, like, trying to think back then, like Cooper Arnold, Arturo. Haven't seen him in who knows how many years, but yeah, I was doing pretty well against those guys, and making a couple $100. And I started playing a couple Pro Tour events while I was still working and doing okay. And so I think in one of the summers between the end of the school year and the start of the next one, I kind of did a mini tour, played, I want to say it was like maybe 6 or 7 A tiers in Pro Tour events, and I did pretty well. And so I just kind of decided that I was going to pursue that while I was young and single, and didn't really have any responsibilities at the time. And yeah, I'm glad I did, because it led me on this new career and this new journey in my life for the last, I guess, like 8 or 9 years now.
Mm-hmm. So when you started, was there kind of a fallback plan? Was there just like, hey, here's like 2 or 3 months on the road, and if this doesn't work, we'll see what happens? Or it was like, yep, no, I'm here. Let's give this a go.
I talked to the principal at the school I was working with and told him my plan. Like, I'm gonna go pursue this and see how it goes. There's a chance I might be back, and there's a chance that I might not be back. And I talked to him a couple weeks before the start of the school year and told him I was gonna pursue the disc golf.
Nice.
So
Love it.
yeah, a little bit of a fallback plan.
It's sort of like a kind of a Joe Revere thing, right? He kind of stuck with, he does the summers and tours and things like that. But like, were you sort of like in that ballpark of like, well, I could teach and just do summer stuff? Or was it just like, it's either I'm doing this or I'm not? Like, were you kind of more of a committed person?
Like, I got my major in education, and turns out I don't really like teaching.
Okay.
So I was really hoping the disc golf was going to work out, and it did.
Okay.
So I guess maybe that was a little bit of extra motivation to make it work. I could get out of the school environment.
It takes the right type of person to
Yeah,
really love that environment.
Yeah, it was just different from when I was in school to, going through college and then working again. That's only 5 years time, but it was totally different from what I remembered.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Allie Smith was in the same boat. Like, she started teaching, and I think she kind of quickly realized that this was not really for her either. So, yeah. Well, a funny question I think you wanted to ask is, which
I wasn't going to throw this question out there.
I want to hear the hard questions.
Yes.
Come on.
Which tournament is more difficult to win, Champions Cup or our local B tier Frostbreaker? Because that's tomorrow.
I'll answer this, but then I also want to add another point.
Yes.
I feel probably on the tee pad of the B tier first hole of the day, I'm probably more nervous than hole one at the Champions Cup. Because I think the B tiers, I'm the highest rated player, and so I put the pressure on myself that I got to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Champions Cup, with probably 25 players rated higher than me, I'm just there to play the best I can. And if it turns out I'm playing really well, then the pressure comes a little bit later.
Right.
But
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Like you said, you're the man to beat. You look at the field and you're like, oh, he's the top rated guy. Like, everyone's got to go out and beat him, whatever. You've won a lot of B tiers. Like, you've won basically every B tier that Disc Golf Monkey or Kansas City or whatever has. How does your mentality shift in those two instances? You're like, I'm the man to beat versus, no, I got to go out here and compete and kind of show. Is it just mental kind of reassurance or like kind of changing the psyche to get there?
I'd say it's probably different course strategies. Like, the courses that we play this weekend at these B tiers, it's essentially, if you're going to win, you got to birdie double digits every round. But then you go to a hard course on tour and you're like, if I get like 3 or 4 under, I'm sitting pretty good. And so I think it's just like knowing the course beforehand, knowing what kind of tournament that you're going to play, and, knowing the game plan. I got to birdie, like, bogeys are out of the question. You can't take bogeys. But on the Pro Tour, it's a little different. You have to like golf a little bit more, a lot more strategy on the Pro Tour. But the B tiers, it's just like pedal to the metal, got a birdie every hole, it seems like.
When you're playing the locals, like this guy that play there all the time, are very familiar with it.
Yeah. I feel like I hear on the same plane ride back, I remember specifically Clemens saying a very similar thing, just being like, I think I saw him actually out on the course because I was taking photos for Grip, and it was like, today I'm just playing golf. Like, he was like, he didn't really have any specific goals. It was like, I'm just going to play golf. I'm just going to play what the course gives me. That's the goal. And just feel like I did a great job that day doing that. Which I think is tough for most people to play that way. Most people don't play golf. They just are birdie or die, or bogey is the worst, and I'm going home.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
And yeah, it'd be interesting to know, like, the way I've heard a lot of these local events described is kind of like it's a sprint. Like, whoever can do it the fastest or the best. It's like, it's a sprint event. If you bogey the first 2 holes and par the next 3, you feel like it's over.
It's 2 rounds, right? Like it's tough.
Do you feel like, you just kind of said the opposite, but I'd be curious to know, do you feel like the Pro Tour is kind of starting to get there in some of these events, especially the 3-round events of like, some of these guys are shooting crazy nuts rounds for first round, second round, and
They're still hitting double digits
in
a single round.
There's so many good players, and the field is so deep now that there's, you're going to have the top guys like Gannon, Ricky, Calvin that are going to shoot well every round, but then you're going to have 5 to 10 guys who also shoot really well. And if you're not one of those 5 to 10 guys, all of a sudden you're in 20th place after the first round, and it's going to be hard to win from 20th place.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how hard the courses are getting and how shreddable the top guys make them look still.
You've had your fair share of successes along the way. What do you think a lot of times those successes wind up turning to like more favorable courses for your style of game? And I guess kind of with that, are there any particular skill sets? I know you've referenced forehand, but like, are you actively like pursuing more distance or, kind of alternative skill sets, maybe different ways of throwing shots to kind of try to keep up or kind of put yourself back in the next echelon?
I feel like the older I get, I'm kind of shifting away from the power player to the accurate player. And so when we play these wooded courses where you have to hit gaps, I feel like that's when I can really give myself an advantage versus most of the field. I mean, I think I'm probably top 3 in the world in hitting a small gap with a backhand. And so, we play all these wooded courses. Like Northwood's a great example. The Monster in Europe, that's another one. These really tight, long wooded holes that I feel like I have a good advantage on over the field. And then I've really been trying to work the forehand, and I feel like 200 feet and in, I have something now. Like I'm pretty confident with it. But at this point in my career, I don't know if I'll ever have that 450-foot forehand that the tour really requires now. Yeah.
And kind of being on that like backhand, predominantly backhand category. Do you see the forehand as that much of an advantage, or do you think you can shape some of those shots? Because there's a few guys I'm thinking, like Kale or Conrad, like there are even Ezra Robinson this last week. I guess I didn't realize he doesn't really have much of a forehand.
I mean, there's an argument right now that people are like, I don't know why I need to have one. I mean, we have a back-to-back world champion who doesn't have a forehand.
Yeah.
That's another good Isaac. Yeah, I forgot Isaac doesn't have.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously if I could choose to have one, I would. And so I think having one is definitely an advantage or a good arsenal, a good tool to have in your bag.
Definitely.
Because there are holes that are practically unbirdieable with a backhand. But if you have the power forehand, stuff is going to become birdieable and just give you more opportunities to score on the course.
Yeah.
Let me go back just a little bit. I can confirm that he's incredible at hitting small gaps and things that shouldn't exist. I'm thinking of different times that, like, we'll say a Joplin where there's maybe like a gap that's this big. He's like, yeah, Frisbee fits do that. Let me throw it as hard as I can through that hole.
Yeah.
I hit one last year at Jonesboro that I wowed myself. And then after I hit the gap, it hit a tree and kicked out of bounds. And I was so mad.
Was it like the size, like, you put these together, you get a disc, and it's kind of like this big? Is that the size of the gap?
Essentially, it was hole 18, that really hard hole. And I'm kind of behind all that junk in the middle, halfway up the fairway. I'm just like, if I'm going to birdie this hole, the only chance to do it is hit this gap. And I freaking hit it, and I was like, birdie. And then later down, limb, OB.
What do you do to hit the gap? Like, do you think about it or just line up your stance? Like, what are you doing to hit gaps consistently?
I've just adapted my form. Whatever direction I run, that's where the disc is going to go. Like, that's the line it's going to release. So it's kind of like bowlers, how they line up on those little arrows. Like, sometimes I find myself, I'll be like looking at a gap and I'm like, no, I think I need to shuffle my feet like 6 inches this way, and I'll kind of just shuffle it a little bit. But I feel like, I have a really straight pull through, and so the line that I run up is the line that the disc is gonna release.
Yeah. Your momentum definitely follows where you throw as well, like, which is definitely noticeable versus other forms that are out there. Yeah.
You're just committed, like full power.
Full commit.
Yeah, just
Full commit.
That is true too. You do full commit.
Another thing that's interesting that I don't know if it plays a part in this, but you probably throw a backhand with your face facing the target more so than anyone else. Like, I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah,
because your head is more forward than most people with throwing.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have crazy neck flexibility or how you do that, because I've tried and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I
It's really
notice.
hard, actually. Yeah.
I notice when I'm on coverage, the commentators will make a note of that. Is that they always say that I don't turn my back fully away from the target, and so I mean, my eyes do come off the gap, but I'm not like full reach back where I'm looking 180 degrees the wrong direction. I don't know. I didn't like practice doing it that way. I guess that's just kind of how the form developed over the years. I got tired of being a power player and not hitting gaps, so I started hitting gaps and lost some power. But it's a trade-off.
I think in golf, accuracy over power should mostly always be the priority. That's at least, we would say that a lot in soccer is, dude, accuracy over power. Like, if you really want to make it in that goal, it's great to have power, but if you miss the entire goal, it's not even worth it, right? So,
Do you know he was a college soccer player?
no, but I know he wore soccer indoor shoes to play in back in the day.
Back in the day.
Which our bullpen wanted to touch on a little bit as far as that just naturally happened. By the way, it wasn't set up, but we can segue to that. Do you want to talk about the soccer shoes, and then what shoes are you wearing now, and why abandon?
Okay, I get this a lot.
Okay,
They were not soccer cleats.
they were not clean.
They were not cleats.
They're not cleats.
No, they're indoor shoes. They were totally flat, no studs.
Yes.
Designed to either be on turf or on a basketball surface, basketball court. Not cleats.
Yeah.
Because I get that a lot. They're like, "Didn't you used to wear cleats when you played?"
I think it
Long
was
time ago.
something about like,
And
I think just top half of the shoe looks like a cleat.
yeah, I mean,
And most disc golfers, especially when we were coming up, we were wearing like 10-pound Keens. And, these humongous
It's not
shoes.
boots for some people.
And
Yeah.
here's Andrew throwing like, gold laced, like,
oh yeah.
I imagine them being
Soccer.
orange. Were they
I
orange?
had orange, gray, green, black,
Yeah.
pink.
whole arsenal. Yeah.
And they were all the same shoe because I loved them so much. They were essentially made of plastic, so they were waterproof. They were lightweight. I was used to the soccer style shoe back then.
You probably felt athletic in them.
Yeah. And I just had them from playing soccer. And so I would use them. But yeah, right now it's a shoe. It's by Merrell and it's called the Wrapped shoe.
Okay.
And it's, I really like them. They have a high top version. They have a low top version. I have both pairs, and I've been using them all this year, and I really am enjoying them.
Okay.
Are they kind of like a
flat
zero
sole?
drop? Yeah.
Do what?
Zero drop, like flat. Or,
Yeah. God, wish I would have brought them in, but they're like not quite as thin as the Vivo Barefoots that you see a lot of players wearing. But they kind of look similar. I'd say there's just a little bit more cushion and a little bit thicker tread on the bottom.
Okay.
But they're still very lightweight.
But not like a huge drop like
No.
Vessies and
No.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
nothing like the Bessies.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, why'd you switch then?
Yeah.
Merrell hooked me up.
Oh, let's
Are they a
go.
sponsor?
No, they're not a sponsors. Like Ledgestone has a partnership with Merrell.
Oh.
And so I reached out to the contact at Merrell and just kind of said, hey, like, I'm sponsored by Ledgestone. I play on the Pro Tour. I plan on playing 40 tournaments this year. And I saw your shoe in a shoe store and thought they'd be really good for disc golf. And, if you want me to wear them out on the tour and, give them exposure, then, hook me up. And he did. He sent me 3 pairs. So,
Nice, awesome.
yeah.
I actually wanted to touch on this topic a bit about sponsorships. You can kind of roll this into like people getting started or that kind of whole just remembering trying to get sponsors. But obviously sponsors are crucial for you to have like a career in this. Like obviously winning tournaments is money coming in, like sure B tier's $200 to $500 here and there. But can you break down like it's sponsorships I imagine are not just all money. A lot of it probably is, but can you sort of break down why sponsorships are so important, and are certain sponsors different for different reasons?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I think the sponsor that you pursue probably depends on what you want your goals to look like. If your goal is to play on the Pro Tour, you're probably going to need a manufacturer sponsorship that helps you financially, because the Pro Tour is getting very expensive if you don't have any financial help. I mean, I signed up for the Pro Tour Pass plus all the tournaments I wanted to play, and it was like $6,000 this year. And luckily, Discraft reimburses me, but if I don't have a sponsor to help me out with that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money up front to bet on yourself, and if you don't really have the proven track record, it's a big gamble.
Yeah. Well, and that's just to get on the list to play.
Yeah, exactly. And then you still got to play well to recoup at least the entry fee, which is now I think like $320 per Pro Tour event.
And then cashing is not a guarantee anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, like
It's like 10-20 golf at this point.
10-20 minimum, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if that's your goal, I feel like you have to, if your goal is to play on the Pro Tour, you really need to be like a top local guy to earn that awareness from sponsors that could potentially help you out financially. If your goal is to rep a local apparel company, you know, that's going to look totally different than trying to get sponsored by Discraft. And I have a couple, like I have an apparel sponsor, I have a bag sponsor, I have Ledgestone, which is kind of my retail sponsor, and then I have Discraft. And so obviously Discraft gives me way more than my apparel sponsor. And so the other little sponsors that I have, they just kind of help out a little bit financially. And obviously I don't do as much for them than I do for Discraft.
Right.
But yeah, like it just depends. There's so many different levels of sponsors, so many different things you can get sponsored with, and
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that makes sense. But is the disc manufacturer, that's like the big one, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Right. They're just the big dogs as far as getting people out there and playing and financially supporting them.
Yeah. I know, like talking with Discraft in the off season, they told me they spent like $300,000 on entry fees for all their sponsored players last year. Like that's so much. And so, yeah, I mean, those are the big dogs that are helping out the players on playing the big tournaments.
Let's talk about that a little bit too. You know, I would say you were throwing Discraft before Discraft was cool. And so even kind of your full turn days, we had mixed bag options.
Yeah.
Like you had a lot of Discrafts in the bag. I think you even maybe had an opportunity to be with Discraft and kind of chose full turn first. I don't remember that whole sequence, but you know, had a lot of Discraft. You kind of make the jump same time as Paul, and you've kind of had a few ups and downs. You know, you were on the elite team for a long time. There's at least 1, maybe 2 years that you weren't, but then got
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yep.
And then you got the chance to kind of come back. You know, maybe if you can share, I don't know what you can all share, kind of those couple years where like, hey, like I don't have, you know, the elite team support and like the Tour Series disc, like how did that kind of change some of your approaches? But then I guess maybe even backing up a little bit before that, kind of making that decision to go from like, hey, here's a small manufacturer to a large one, like my support's going to change. How is this going to continue to promote and build me?
When I first looked for a sponsor, I think I was probably like 990 rated. But this is back in like 2017, where being a 1,000 rated player is a big deal. Like there wasn't a whole bunch of them like there are now. And so I reached out to multiple companies. And I had some get back to me and some didn't, but a lot of them were just like, hey, we'll give you 50 discs and apparel. And honestly, at that time, that didn't really interest me because I was looking for some kind of financial help because I was going to pursue it in that summer between the school year and whatnot. And so, the small local sponsor kind of knew me and saw me grow up in the local scene and saw how my game was improving, and they reached out and helped financially. And so that's what made me decide to go with the small local full turn company than be on I think one was like the Prodigy Street Team, and then like Discraft Underground at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I was interested in. I didn't really care that it was not a big brand name. I just wanted a little bit of financial help to see if I could pursue this and make it a career. And then, yeah, I was on full turn, I think, for 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, like did pretty well. Had some good finishes on the pro tour, and that's when I was like still reaching out to Discraft and stuff, and they offered me a spot on the elite team. Kind of that year you were talking about with like the addition of Macbeth and Ulibarri and a couple others that were like some big signings. So yeah, I was excited to kind of join that whole grouping of players, kind of all going to Discraft at once.
And then, yeah, so you wind up with Discraft, you got the drone for your first tour series. Yep. Talk a little bit about kind of choosing that, and then also eventually choosing the Force, eventually choosing the Swarm. Kind of what were those decisions like? And, how much are you collaborating with Discraft? How much are they just kind of open the door? It's like, hey, it's your choice.
Yeah, the drone I selected has been my favorite mold since I started playing disc golf, even though it's not the most popular. And so those sold okay. I didn't really know what to expect because it was like the first time I've ever had a disc with my name on it that I was going to get royalties from. And so I guess it did okay for what I was expecting. And then I switched to the Force in 2021 and had the Force for 2 years. And this was during the COVID boom. And so the Force made over 3 times what the drone did.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really nice. And then didn't make the elite team for 23, and then got promoted to the elite team in 24, and then selected the Swarm because it was going to be the brand new mold, and they said it would be the first time the public could buy a Swarm would be my Tour Series one. So I thought it'd be a good idea to select that disc because it'd be pretty popular.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I bag a Swarm and I really like it. I think it's a good complement to the drones that I bag.
I wanted to ask that question as far as like, okay, you obviously going to bag both. Like the drone is your bread and butter, but the Swarm, but why would I bag both? Like, can you explain to me what the difference is? Maybe it's a shot shape, maybe it's a shot choice.
Okay, so if you were going to bag both, I would say the drone is better for backhanding and the Swarm is better for forehanding.
Okay.
The Swarm can handle both, but the drone is not a good forehand disc.
No.
And it's just the way it's shaped. It's not great torque resistant for the forehands. So for the casual player, I don't know if you would bag both, but for me, I look for the drones that have been beat to crap and fly straight. And so
Like off used bins, or what do you
used bins, stuff that I've just beat in for years and years. So the drones that I bag don't fly like a stock drone. I simply enjoy the way they feel and the way they come out of my hand.
Yeah.
Which is why I will throw this I prefer this more than a Buzz. This is kind of my like Buzz slot right now because it's so beat up. Yeah. But then a Swarm is just kind of like a good overstable drone. Like you could find really overstable drones, but a Swarm is just kind of like right out of the box, really overstable drone.
Oh,
As far as stability goes.
You're talking about it's a drone, but it's more overstable than a drone?
Yeah, like if you were to find the beefiest drone, it'd be like a stock Swarm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no joke.
So, you hear it pretty commonly with a lot of players that they'll have a lot of discs kind of in the same slot. And I think a moment that I have a memory of present is like, we're kind of talking about it. He carries several drones, and he was really well known for these green drones that he would throw a lot.
Yeah, still has one.
Yep. I asked him one day, I was like, if you ever lost that, like, what would you do? Like, honestly, I'd probably replace it with a stalker. And it was like, okay, like that kind of gives you an idea of where some of those slots are. It was just like one of those of like, yeah, if I lost this in this moment, it's probably insert completely different fairway driver.
This blue one's almost like a T-bird. Like it goes really far. It's just a good angle holder, whatever I throw it on.
Oh, okay.
They're really glidey too.
Very glidey. So,
Strangely glidey.
yeah.
I definitely find myself wanting a disc that's like good to throw off the shelf. Like I don't have to beat it in, and like because I'm not putting in that work most of the time.
Yeah.
So, do you find most of your bag is like half and half with that now, or are you still throwing years old?
I have a lot of, my bag doesn't change much. And so most of the stuff in my bag is pretty, I don't want to say old, but like I've had for multiple years. And yeah, like if I were to lose one of the beat up drones, I don't really have an immediate replacement. I'd probably have to beat something up. And that's kind of, the green one in my bag now is a little bit more overstable than my two blue ones that I have that are straight. But hopefully I'll throw that green one enough in practice and whatnot that eventually if I ever did lose one of the blue ones, maybe that one will be almost ready to go as far as being semi-straight.
You're putting in a lot of reps on them though. So
Yeah, I am.
Well, I heard you said you play like 40 tournaments a year. Is that
Yeah,
right?
about 40. Could be give or take a couple.
What's that comparison to like Simon Lazat?
Yeah, like
Somebody that hits-
Simon Gannon, they're probably only playing Pro Tour events. I mean, if you played all the Pro Tour, you're probably looking around 20.
like, yeah,
Maybe like 20 if you do like the majors and the elites.
yeah.
You're probably looking around 20. And so I would say I play an additional 20 events, most of them B tiers, some A tiers, and like rarely a C tier.
Again, does that just fall into like what we kind of talked about earlier? Just I don't want to sit around if there's a weekend open. I'd rather go play something, get more reps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have any plans, and so might as well go.
You also
play.
have the energy, man. I remember years ago you would show up and it's like you didn't practice the courses yet. So you showed up and I think you like played the course at like 6 a.m. so you would know what it was like. And then you played the round and then we were like, hey, do you like want to go get dinner or something? Like, no, I got to run to Rosedale and see the layout and play that real quick. So you'd play 3 rounds for, we're talking B tier stuff. But it's just like, dude, that guy's a machine.
Yeah, that was the old me, the younger me, 10 years ago when I could do that. I'm probably a little too old to do that now.
I bet you still want to be able to do that.
Yeah. Like I'll probably get out there an hour before tomorrow and play 9 holes. But yeah, that used to be my thing. People would be like, "Oh, what time did you get here this morning?"
Yep.
I'd be like, "I've already got 18 holes in, so
Yes.
before the round even starts."
What are some of those? So, you play a whole bunch of pro tours, you have these regional events, and you wind up probably with several similar events every year. What are kind of the 2 or 3 events that you have circled that you're kind of just keeping your fingers crossed? Like, oh, I hope there's not a pro tour. Like, I hope I can play this event. What are some of those like
The local ones that I love
A's and
playing?
B's that, yeah.
4 States Open, I gotta say, in Joplin. Love those courses. It's pretty close to where I live. The one I do get to play this year, the Kansas City Flying Disc Challenge. I think I'm at least planning on playing that. I gotta go from Portland to Kansas City though in a week. But I should be flying, so
playing?
it shouldn't be.
I'm going to play.
I'm planning on it.
Yeah.
I'm playing.
Honestly, like Joplin, the Kansas City courses we play there, those are always really fun. Trying to think, what's my favorite St. Louis one? Oh, anytime we play Carrollton in St. Louis, love that course. I usually do pretty well on that course. Yeah, just I feel like some years I don't get to play any of those because they fall on a pro tour, and then some years I get to play all of them. Just kind of fluctuates each year.
Is that just like a fun, like coming home kind of vibes for you?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different than going to a pro tour. It's nice to just like drive the day of or the day before and just show up and play on shorter courses that you are pretty familiar with and
Yeah.
have a good track record of.
Yeah.
A lot of KC locals that jogged. Another memory that I think people need to hear. They're familiar with some crazy Presnell drives. And there's Portland to Kansas City in a week. Seems not that impressive compared to, I think it was a KC Wide Open, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to
God, I know what you're talking about.
share a little bit for the people that maybe you've never heard this?
I have not heard this.
What year was that Wide Open?
wanna say it might have been-
22, maybe?
I was thinking 21. 20 or 21.
The first one after COVID.
No, it was 20 because it was COVID and it was a C tier.
Oh.
It was a C tier.
Okay.
Quote unquote.
Well, so I'm playing in the Pro Tour Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Kansas City Wide Open is on the same weekend as that. But with the Pro Tour Championship, I think if you didn't have the buys, you had to play on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or something. And I told myself if I got eliminated before Friday, I was going to go play the Kansas City Wide Open, which started on Friday. And sure enough, got eliminated like Thursday afternoon and drove through the night to make my tee time in Kansas City to play the Kansas City Wide Open. And I played horribly sleep deprived, and I played terrible.
I mean, I think you maybe had a 1 or 2 o'clock tee time, got there hour-ish before, something like that. Wow. I mean, timed it.
I stopped in Nashville and slept a little bit. But yes, timed it where I got there an hour before and teed off. I've done that for the Kansas City Wide Open, and then I've also done that for the St. Charles Open in St. Louis area. So I've done that drive twice, and I won the St. Charles one, so that one was worth it. Kansas City, I remember...
It was the extra 4 hours.
I remember I was sitting in the car on top of Waterworks, and it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds. I was just like, I really drove here for this.
I just remember looking at the registration list and being like, he's signed up.
How was he?
You just Carolina.
You said you told yourself you're going to do this if this happens, but you obviously had already signed up because otherwise.
Yeah, I was just gonna drop out if I happen to advance in the Pro Tour Championship.
Okay.
Because I think you advanced day 1. You did not advance day 2.
Correct. Yeah,
That's when
that
you started
sounds right.
the drive.
This kind of leads into a little bit of one of the questions I want to ask, but can you sort of explain, maybe, I don't know if it's an emotional roller coaster or just generally emotionally what it's like to be a pro on tour. You drive to the tournament, you practice, you play your rounds, you end up wherever you end up on the leaderboard, and then you get in the car, you drive to the next one, and you repeat. Can you just sort of like paint that picture for us of what that really is kind of like?
Yeah, for me specifically, Monday is my day of travel and no disc golf. Like I almost refuse to play on Mondays.
Okay.
That's my one day off that I will take for myself. No disc golf. It's my disc golf-less day. Usually driving to the next event, wherever that is. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is usually practice days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, tournament days. Monday, repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is it like to just sort of emotionally have to like, because that's just, to me, that seems like a different than my job. My job is like, well, yeah, I go to work on Monday and I work through Friday and I have the weekend. Mm-hmm. But, I'm not trying to make leaderboards and compete with people. Like, it's just a different vibe. Like you win Champions Cup, like that is much different than you just went and didn't advance in this Pro Tour thing. And so then you try to get it's got to be like way different depending on tournaments and just sort of like that cycle a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It takes some getting used to, and the traveling is maybe the hardest part.
Just the driving?
The driving, the being away from family in a new city every week. Sometimes, I go to a new city tomorrow and I don't know where I'm going to stay. Sometimes it's like hotels last minute. Sometimes it's texting another player, hey, you got space at your Airbnb?
Right.
And so, yes, a lot of it is stressful, and but that's part of the job.
Yeah. Is it a lot? Is just logistics?
It
Is that most of the stress, or
Yeah, it's a lot of logistics. I try to have most of my planning done early in the year, and so I don't have to worry about that mid-year. Like I'm texting people for like Portland. I'm like, hey, Portland is in a couple months. Like you still want to have me? And I've stayed with the same guy for a couple of years now. And so yeah, it's a lot of like early planning that I try to do so that I don't have to, last minute decide things. But sometimes that does come where I'm scrambling at the last minute.
I mean, I'm like stressed, like preparing for a week-long vacation. Like I can't imagine doing that every week.
And then going back to like when you first started doing this, like you said, like right now, like, oh, like in Portland, I've been staying with this person for 2 years now. So that might actually feel kind of like easy because he's just always been like, oh, hell yeah, like come join us. Like you're always welcome. But starting out, like, let's say first year Discraft or whatever, which I think you've been on the team for 7 years. Is that what you just said? And you're in the bag?
Yeah, this is my 7th year.
Yeah. But what's sort of that like to try to figure that out? Is like, okay, this is my first year on tour. I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
I'm not friends with anyone yet. I'm the new guy. Can you remember back to like that time and what that was like?
Yeah. It was a lot of posting on like local pages and just kind of seeing if anybody is interested in hosting pros for the week. And the disc golf community is so welcoming and so close that a lot of the times we had people reach out that were excited to host some pros. There's a couple times where I think there's like one tournament that I ended up sleeping in one of my buddy's vans that we used to travel around in. So yeah, it's just a lot of different arrangements every week. And if you're starting out, I don't know, maybe the van life is easier when you start out.
Okay.
If you're up for it. I'm total opposite of van life guy.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to be outside. I need like a bed. I need air conditioning. I need some space. And so
Game console.
So maybe it'd be hard for me if I was starting out right now because I feel like I would kind of require those things. But I don't know, if you don't mind the van life and sleeping in a car and saving some money that way, like
What's the difference between now versus then? As far as you saying you might need to do that.
probably I'd say how expensive the tour is getting and like how well you have to play. Because like I think I started touring when I was 990 and I could cash pretty regularly. If you average 990 now, you're probably like bottom 10. And so
You're just spending.
yeah, you're just spending money and not making money. And so probably the level of competition has something to do with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Back to the hosts. How many hosts have you stayed at that you did not try to go back to the next time, next year? Oh, there's some. He's putting some thought into it.
No names.
There's only been like 2 that I've been genuinely uncomfortable, and so I've only had 2 like bad experiences.
Okay. That's pretty good because I'm not on the road full time and I've at least had one. And so.
Yeah, 2 bad experiences. I really won't get into the details, but.
No need.
To go back to the Discraft sponsorship and like, I heard Bob Giulio on the podcast talk about like the competitiveness of the elite team and kind of like there's only a certain number of spots. Like, I don't know, like what did that mean for you to like get demoted and then to like have to work back? Did that feel normal? Was that?
Yeah, it was a bummer. It was kind of like a 1-year prove it deal, as they say in like NFL. You know, they'll give you a smaller contract and go out and prove it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer, and like Discraft is always signing new players, and so if they're rated higher or ranked higher than me, I just kind of moved down the totem pole, so to speak. And so yeah, it was getting harder and harder to make the elite team, and I had to win a freaking major to make the elite team with how stacked Discraft is now. And like, there's so many players on Discraft that probably deserve to be on like a company's top team, but Discraft is just so stacked that it's hard. So yeah, I mean, especially this year with signing Ricky and Ezra, like arguably top 5 players, like being on the elite team this year is definitely special.
Yeah. So is that like when you worked your way, like, do you think that contributed to like how hard you worked to like win a major, or are you working the same and it's just kind of the results differ?
Yeah, I feel like I've always kind of worked the same. I don't know if like getting demoted, I don't know if I like put in more practice time. I don't think I did. I play a lot in the off season. So I don't know if I like, it's not like I played more than I had been in the past, but yeah, it might've just been like results based. You know, it is something that I think about when I play. You know, I'm kind of looking down the leaderboard. I'm like, okay, I beat this person, this person, like, you know, because at the end of the season, they're going to pull up stats on you and be like, all right, here's your stats compared to the other guys on the elite team. And, you know, that's how this sport is. And if you're trying to be on the top team, it's going to come down to numbers and how well you did. So
how does, like on the flip side of that, like how does your media presence or just like doing podcasts or selling discs, or like how do those factor into your overall sponsorship?
It definitely helps. Like Ezra Aderhold on Discraft, he has his practice round videos that he does with Aaron Gossage. And so, you know, having a big media presence like that definitely helps. And that is factored into what team you get placed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned like selling discs. Is that something you do like as you go to each event? Like,
yeah, I vend at almost every tournament I can where I have an opportunity, because it's just extra money, first of all, and then it gets Discraft discs in players' hands. You know, if they want to try something new with Discraft, they can buy it from me. It supports me, and they get the disc they want. And if they, you know, end up really liking it, they're gonna buy more Discraft. So
sweet. What sort of discs do you sell? Like custom stamps?
yeah, like my logo on discs, essentially. Yeah.
Cool.
Do you like vending? Because I've definitely seen you out there, and like it's definitely like a hustle a bit. But
yeah, it's like a side hustle on the Pro Tour, I guess. More and more players are starting to do it. So the like when you go to a Fly Mart to vend, there's a lot of different places that people can spend their money, and so it's not as much money now as it was in the past, because there used to only be a handful of players that would show up, and so you'd have all the amateur players, you know, split up between 5 players who are vending, but now there's 25 players vending, and so, yeah.
it definitely seems like either players love it or they hate it. Just talking to Allie Smith, it's like she loves it, her and Mary and stuff, but you know, like James Proctor's not like a huge fan of it, kind of a thing, but like he'll go and do it kind of a situation, and they'll sort of like buddy up as Thought Space and do their thing. But
I was going to say, when you do that, are there areas in tournaments that, you know, you might have, you said there's more and more people doing it. So like, do you find that the bigger events are more successful for you, or do you actually find it's maybe like regional based, where like a Kansas City event might be way more productive for you than a Florida event or something?
Yeah, I think the local stuff I tend to do a little bit better at, just because they know me probably a little bit better than down in Florida. And then they probably want to support the local touring guy a little bit more. And so, I mean, there's some B tiers that I do really, really well selling discs at the end of the day.
like
And
tomorrow.
Yeah, like tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I brought some to sell, and we'll see.
Oh yeah, I bet we'll support you for sure. You mentioned Florida, but I did want to kind of ask about the last weekend, Supreme Flight. Yes. Yeah. How was that? Like that course, that course like made my bucket list immediately because that is looking really good. But how was it to actually play? On coverage, it looks incredible.
Yeah, I played it last year. It was really great last year. I think it was even better this year. Maybe not the tee shot of 16. Maybe that was a little bit of a downgrade. But I understand why they did it. But yeah, like the course is really cool. I mean, there's so many like downhill shots.
It looked insane.
Yeah. I think the whole 17 or something is like the second highest elevation in Florida or something like that.
Wow.
And so, I mean, you're really high up. And the tee shot on 18, the camera doesn't do it justice on how far downhill that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tournament's fun and the course is really fun. I just didn't play my best golf.
That's
last
fine.
week.
That doesn't matter. But yeah, they had like it's like the Grand Canyon shot, I'm just going to call it, where like you're literally throwing from one plateau to the other, but there's a huge drop off and you don't make it. Like, I don't know any other courses that are really like that or a hole that's like that. But on 18, like, I want to ask what you were throwing on that hole, because are you throwing the turnover? Or are you trying
I was throwing this off the drive,
the drone,
and then this drone on the upshot, and I birdied it all 3 rounds. It's honestly probably the second easiest hole in the course.
Oh, okay.
But it looks so intimidating.
Yeah.
But yeah, that hole's really fun.
It looks really fun. Like, this has got to be on the bucket list to get down there. But one other thing I wanted to touch on as far as your game was, you may not think this, or I don't know, but I do think you have one of the most unique putting forms. And I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on when you're stepping up to a putt, what are you thinking through? I think a lot of us work on putting a lot. I know you do. I do a lot. Our good friend Kevin. And we're just always constantly thinking and talking about putting forms and what we're thinking through our setup, through the release. But can you sort of walk us through your whole setup and release?
Yeah, so I don't know why I look how I don't know why I look how I do when I putt. Like, when I watch myself, I'm like, that does look a little weird. But when I'm doing it, it just feels
I would not
normal.
call it weird. I would just call it different.
Yeah, it's just different. I don't know.
Bones is John. You know John Jones.
Oh, of course.
He's sort of in this category. We talked about when he was on the podcast. He was like, in my mind, I'm doing this, and then I watch myself on coverage, and it looks nothing like what I'm doing.
Exactly. It's kind of the same thing. But when I step up to a putt, something I did that really helped me is develop a routine. And I know a lot of people say that about putting, is get some kind of routine. And so I just kind of go through my routine. I set my mini down, I kind of back up and look at the putt, step up to it with my head down a little bit and just kind of talk myself into making the putt. I do essentially 2 little practice pumps, practicing the height of the release, and then spin it in. Okay. The thing I'm thinking about most now is my grip. So I'll notice if I'm like really starting to miss putts, it's because I'm gripping the putter too hard. I need to like kind of relax the grip a little bit and kind of.
What's
really
your miss? Is
spin
it hanging on to the hands and missing right?
It's just everywhere. Sometimes the miss is everywhere.
Right.
And I'm just like, why did I miss that one low right? And then why did that one go off the band? And so, yeah, anytime I've like missed 2 or 3 putts in a row, I'm like, it's because I'm not holding the disc loose enough. That's been kind of my thing. And honestly, the week before Champions Cup last year was when I figured out that I need to have a looser grip. That's when I started doing the looser grip and being able to just kind of snap them in there.
Are you sure you're not a 3-pump fake?
I switched
Oh my!
because I could not stand watching myself on coverage.
So the amount of times that I stepped forward on pump fake numbers, so it was like 1 pump, 2 pump, and then I thought he was putting, and I would do the classic step and like freeze, like, oh, he's still there.
I was 3 pumps for probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I'd watch myself. I'm like, oh my God, putt the disc. And so I've cut it down by 33% by going to the 2 pumps.
Yes.
I love it. I support it. No, you got me
quite the
good
jump.
many a time with the 3rd pump.
I focus on this. I just want to ask this question, but on your backswing on the putt, are you focused on where exactly it feels in your hand? Like when I've been doing the pullback, I'm trying to feel the weight on the these two middle fingers? Or are you or can you explain, like, are you thinking about that at all? Or
It's kind of when I'm thinking about my grip. It is kind of a lot for me, the middle finger. I feel like that's where I get the pop out of. So I want to make sure that that finger feels in the correct spot. But then if I'm like holding the disc too tight, I feel it kind of all in my palm. And I tell myself I need to hold it a little looser. And then I really don't feel it much in my palm. It's just kind of on the edge of my fingers.
Okay.
And then I can really
Okay.
flick it out.
And you're just getting a little smoother pop out of that?
Yeah, it's kind of forcing me to kind of like pop it at the last second with the looser grip. Because if I don't pop it, it's going to come out short.
Who knows where, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Putting is so mental also. Like, it's just crazy. Especially for me, I feel like putting is so day to day. Like, I could be a top 5 putter in the world one day, and then the next day I'm bottom 5. And so I know it happens to me. I try to be in that consistent range, but it's hard.
This is probably a given, but when you're in that bottom 5 putter in the world and you're feeling like that at a tournament, is it reflected in the scores? Or sometimes you feel that way, but you're like, somehow I'm still in the top 20, but my putting feels like garbage.
Yeah, like if I'm throwing well and putting bad, I usually, it's not as bad as throwing bad and putting well. Because at the Supreme Flight Open, round 1, through the disc great, putted poorly, 1 over par. The last round, threw the disc poorly, putted amazing, 6 over par.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's...
So are you weighing throwing the disc is still like king?
throwing the disc, if you want to score...
Sort of like a,
If you want to, like, score well, I feel like you have to give yourself opportunities. And that means putting the disc in a putting range. But if you want to take strokes off your game the quickest, it's going to be learn to putt.
Yes. I think we've all experienced that. You get a basket, and you buy a basket, or you get a basket, you put it in your backyard. I guarantee you're immediately going to like move up in the amateur ranks.
Yeah,
but I hear a lot on coverage and stuff and just interviews. A lot of people are saying like get off the tee. Like the courses right now that you're playing, like
Tee to
Supreme
green.
Flight, it is that tee to green stat that is really making a huge difference.
We could talk, especially with like the B tiers. And if I was to, kind of look back at old Presnell, I think your drive became really good way quicker than your putt became really good. And so, it would be pretty classic at the end of a tournament for you to say something along the lines of, oh, I shot 12 down, but I missed 5 putts. And be like, okay, cool. I think we give him a hard time. Sometimes at the big events, he'd be tweeting it and be like, get off your phone, focus on the round. But, it's one of those that we're playing Frostbreaker tomorrow. There's 18 holes you could have a putt on. And so you could putt 75%, but if you have 18 looks, like you're still shooting 12 down. Where if you only have a look in 75% of those holes, but you go 100% putting, like you'd have to have a perfect day putting to get that same score.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Do you want to have a little fun? I've got some fun questions for you. I know you are into Rocket League. Are you still into Rocket League?
Yep.
Okay. I want to play a little game with you if you're down.
Okay.
I want to bounce some Rocket League terms off you, but I want you to explain what they mean.
Okay.
But I want you to shift context. I want you to explain to me what they mean, but from a disc golf perspective.
Okay.
Okay. The first one is bot Finnick. Have you heard this one?
Bot Finnick. Well, I know what a bot is and I know what Finnick is, but bot Finnick?
This may be just me doing like rabbit hole researching, but this seemed to be like a new one that just kind of came out.
Bot Finnick. So that would be... I'm just guessing what I think it means and then translating it to disc golf. That would be like really bad player?
The description I got was like,
what's the
it's used to describe a player who plays a solid, non-flashy style. So they're not, I don't play Rocket League, but it sounds like they're not doing aerial, like crazy maneuvers, but they're really good, but they don't do anything flashy.
That makes sense. Yep.
So
Finnick.
So Finnick is it's just a car in the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be me. I don't do anything flashy.
Oh, okay. Maybe
I'll
you're
be a
bot.
bot. I'll
Put
be a
soccer
bot.
shoes.
I'll be a bot, Finnick.
There you go. There you go. All right. Hitbox.
Okay. So this would be where a basket would catch a disc, I'd say.
Okay.
That's translating it to disc golf. Because a hitbox on a car is essentially whenever your car makes contact with the ball, what direction it's going to go. Like every car, if you have a low car, it's going to be, the hitbox is going to be shorter and longer. If you kind of have a tall, fat car, it's going to be a taller, skinnier hitbox. So
That's like the chains that catch.
yeah, it's like the box or the area on the chains where a disc would catch.
Yeah.
Would be my translation.
Okay. All right. How about Smurf?
That would be a pro who plays amateur.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then this one is like, do you think we could actually apply this to disc golf and sort of like speed up the game of play, but left goes?
Okay, say that again. I know left goes. I understand that term. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we want to speed it.
So you're just saying that like you're on the course and you're like, who is it? And it's like you're on the left.
Yes.
Just yeah.
Because I
That's
think
kinda-
what is it in Rocket League? Left goes.
Yeah, like on a kickoff, if you're on the left side, that it's like an unwritten rule that if you're on the left side, you go for the kickoff.
Yes.
And so maybe that's just like furthest out or furthest from the basket goes, I guess.
I read that term and I was kind of like, oh, we're basically in the same general distance. Like, so
Just ready
we
golf.
just know you go. Yeah, it's ready golf.
Yeah.
We just know you're on the left, you go.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to talk about it. Like, it's not this weird, like, I think you're out. Like, now you have some weird, like,
Yeah.
I know you're out, but fine, I'll go. Like, anyways.
Those are fun. I like those. Translated.
Yes. Do you guys have anything else you want to ask?
I've got kind of one more.
Yeah.
That seems kind of in that like closing-ish range.
Sure. Let's do it.
So last year you win Champions Cup. You know, kind of changes the trajectory of a lot of different things. How do you feel like that sets you up for the future, whether that's as a player, not as a player? You know, kind of where does that eventually lead? Do you think the sport has come to a place that being a major champion is now enough that like you forever have a career in disc golf? Do you think you still have to kind of keep building and keep working on that? Yeah, just if you maybe elaborate, like it's pretty easy to see what that does for you in the short term.
Yeah.
But where do you think that leads you in the long term?
Well, I guess I wish it would. I don't really know quite how to say. I guess maybe I'll phrase it like it didn't do as much as I was hoping, I guess. Like obviously winning a major is really cool. And then, yeah, you're on cloud nine for a couple weeks and then you're kind of just right back into the general player pool. And then talking contracts with sponsors, you know, I thought having the major title, being able to throw that in with my name would kind of bring some more opportunities, but I don't know if it's maybe a little bit of decline in the pro scene that we're seeing. But yeah, like I am not getting as much as I was last year, and I don't know. And there's some sponsors that are the same. There's some that getting a little less, and so I don't know. Like for future, I don't really know if it helps me. I don't know how to phrase it exactly, but like obviously I'll be a major winner forever.
Yeah.
And like I think I'm the 33rd different player to win. But yeah, like I think if disc golf was still on the trajectory of like 20, 21, 22, maybe I get a big bump in salary or something. But I feel like with it kind of plateauing and maybe coming down a little bit, companies aren't shelling out the money like they used to a couple years ago.
And I guess kind of on on that, what do you see as kind of that like 5-year, 10-year, like, 10 years from now, do you still see yourself as a player? Do you see yourself evolved in a different capacity in the sport? Being disc golf, you do have that chance to kind of have some longevity. You see some 40-year-old players, some 45-year-old players are so competitive.
Oh, yeah.
But is that kind of what you would want? Do you think you want to shift somewhere within the sport?
I'll say this. I don't know if I've told anybody this other than my fiance and a couple close friends, but I'm like 90% sure that this is going to be my last year of playing full-time on the Pro Tour. Obviously still play tournaments, just more local tournaments. Probably won't go out to the West Coast and go out to the East Coast, but there's a lot of DGPTs in the Midwest that I'll probably play, but I'm kind of getting to the point where when I'm gone for multiple days at a time, I kind of get the feeling I'd rather be at home than at the tournament. So I think this is my last year. I'm going to give it a full go and give it everything I have and just kind of see where it leads me.
Hey, you never know. You might win 2 majors this year.
Maybe.
Change things up.
Unless something drastically changes in the Pro Tour scene and players are starting to get paid millions of dollars again. But yeah, I've had a good run, and I think I'm getting married here at the end of the year, and kind of ready to start that journey of my life, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
There's still, speaking from married men, there's still lots of disc golf opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
From the Pro Tour. It's interesting how, maybe even your practice changes and how sometimes those events you can almost prepare more instead of going week to week to week. I'd be curious to see, be kind of scary seeing Presnell that's super practiced up, just preparing for one giant tournament.
I've had 5 practice rounds at Rosedale this week.
Awesome. Take down all the A tiers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congrats on that. I know you literally had engagement photos today.
Yeah.
Got in the car and drove from Springfield to come to Kansas City.
Not unlike driving from North Carolina to White.
No, but but
this is a bigger deal than
yeah. No, but congrats on that. That's awesome. And yeah, it is life changing. And for sure, as you said, married men, just priorities can change when those things happen, and you start to weigh things a little bit.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, do you have anything?
No, I just say we'll look forward to seeing you out there this year.
Hell yeah. We're always obviously everyone from Kansas City and anyone Midwest wise, we're always rooting for you. So
yeah, appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
Unless it's tomorrow at Frostbite. Don't take it personally.
Hey, I got to get revenge on you from last year.
Well, that's different. That's on the course competition, Yeah. Well, I got a couple gifts for you guys. I'm gonna give those to you guys before you take it off, though. So hang on, let me grab those. I should have put them closer. I didn't think about it.
You usually have the Bert come give it to you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, again, thank you very much for coming on. I'm excited to hang out this weekend. We'll all be around. Obviously, you're going to be seeing a lot of people on the course. I'll be out there Sunday to Rosedale Cup. But first things first, got to thank Grip Equipment. They support the show since episode 0. So here's a couple stickers for you guys. Sweet. If you guys don't know,
take one of each.
There you go. If you order anything from Grip, you're getting stickers in the box. That's like one of my favorite little details that Grip does. But also, we got some ESP zones. You just put out a in the bag, and I noticed you throw these. So I just think these are absolutely gorgeous, and I think they're a little bit prettier than what you're bagging right now. So you can trade, or thought you might like a green one, or you like an orange one. There you go.
Different.
I like this stamp combo.
Oh, it's a stamp. Oh, that is a cool, but I do like that foil.
Yeah, the purple and blue and orange. I like
the
combo.
Nice.
And then I know you're rocking the black MB PX1, so I got some black towels for you. You can never have enough towels. Also, another supporter of the show is BKS Artisan Ales. They're local. They've been sponsoring the show with delicious beverages every time. So if you're in Kansas City, hit them up. They're literally, I don't know, top 10 in the world. I mean, they are so good. It's crazy. So thank you, BKS. Love you very much. Also, I'm gonna rep this Nexus. I got this guy right here. Nexus Disc Golf. They are local. They, if you're in the Kansas City area, they used to be called Dynamic Disc, but they are a retail shop in Kansas City. They are switching to Nexus Disc Golf, and they're incredible. If you know Pete Cashin, JT, Rich Smith, they're incredible guys, and they are, flipping everything around. But what's great about their shop is when you buy from their stores, you are supporting all your local courses. So you'll see it. I don't know if you've seen Rosedale lately, but they've had tons of landscaping done.
Nice.
Bad Rock, all the limestone that you see out at Bad Rock for the, it's those guys. And if you, it's from the money that you shop, or it's just straight out of their own pockets, honestly. But just know that if you shop at Nexus Disc Golf, you are literally supporting the courses around Kansas City. So they're supporting the show now, so we appreciate them as well. So, but anyways, dude, thanks for coming on.
Great, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. Cool. See you guys. Peace.